Story 1. Reddit takes no action on automated accounts because they artificially inflate the user count and therefore allow for better advertising revenue. Story 2. They created mobile phones to replace landlines, making it harder to escape the matrix. Story 3. All the threads on social media where someone asks about other people's conspiracy theories are created by the Central Intelligence Agency to ensure that nobody knows their secrets. Story 4. They make lip balm in small cylindrical tubes so that they roll away more easily and get lost more easily, causing you to buy more. Large tobacco companies have nothing on the small lip balm industry. Story 5. Mattress stores are money laundering fronts. There is no way that many people are buying mattresses that often. Be for real. Story 6. Birds aren't real was just a warm-up. Deep down, I think squirrels are the real spies. Have you ever noticed how they're always watching but never working? Story 7. Cat food manufacturers make 10% of their cans taste bad on purpose. You just think your cat is a picky eater, but in reality, it is a ploy for you to buy 10% more cat food. Story 8. The lean towards fascism is a result of the elite's real fear of climate change. Governments and corporations around the world want the most control and a population with no resources to resist when the situation worsens and those responsible face consequences. We will all suffer slowly from poverty and the fear of even greater poverty. It is easy to hate people worse off than yourself, but it could cost you everything to hold the responsible accountable. Story 9. The world powers such as the United States, China, and Russia are actually colluding in staged power struggles similar to professional wrestling. In secret, they maintain friendly relationships. Story 10. Through a chain of causation, Prince caused the September 11th attacks. Here's how. In 1984, Prince writes the song Darling Nikki and releases it on the album Purple Rain. Sometime afterward, Tipper Gore is listening to it with her then teenage daughter in the car and is appalled at the explicit lyrics about sex and masturbation. The result is the Parents Music Resource Center, with warning labels on compact discs and long-playing records, the so-called Tipper stickers. Fast forward 15 years to 2000, when her husband runs for president. I maintain that a certain number of Generation X voters, teenagers when the Parents Music Resource Center happened, so in their late 20s or early 30s in 2000, do not vote for Gore as a protest, either withholding their vote or voting for Nader or Bush. It would not take many votes to swing the extremely close election. If Gore is elected, it is at least plausible that his administration, paying closer attention to al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden, recall that they were already on the radar from the African embassy bombings in 1998 and the USS Cole attack in October 2000, is able to stop the September 11th plot in its tracks, preventing the attacks. So if Prince does not write Darling Nikki, Tipper Gore does not become upset about explicit lyrics, Gore wins the election, and the September 11th attacks do not happen. Story 11. A fun fact is that the McMahon family that runs World Wrestling Entertainment are actually all actors, and the real owners have never been revealed. Story 12. Humanoid lizards in the tunnels in Missouri. I do not truly believe this, of course. I found this tall tale on a website stating that a man and his brother found a tunnel network while riding all-terrain vehicles near Lake of the Ozarks. They rode into the tunnels and had been exploring for a while when they were set upon by two reptilian creatures guarding the area. One was really big and the other smaller. They started chasing them while firing energy weapons. Story 13. The ancient gods that people like the Aztecs said they met, who taught them survival skills, are actually another, more advanced race from elsewhere. Story 14. David Bowie was, in fact, the man who sold the world. Since then, things declined significantly after he died. Story 15. Like mattress stores, chicken wing restaurants are a front for money laundering. I have seen small family-owned chicken wing restaurants with the cheapest prices flourish with very little foot traffic. The same is true for some donut shops. Story 16. Pharmaceutical companies maintain the anti-vaccination movement because healthy people do not spend as much as constantly sick people. Story 17. Bitcoin was invented by the Central Intelligence Agency or another national security group to make secret, off-the-books payments and to monitor criminal financial transactions. Story 18. I do not know if it is a conspiracy theory, but I cannot understand how Helen Keller accomplished all the things she did. I think it is not true. Story 19. The United Kingdom government created Just Stop Oil as a false flag operation to gain public support for the protest control law that was progressing through Parliament at the time. Story 20. There are alien sleeper agents on Earth who are secretly working to worsen global warming as part of a long-term terraforming project before the invasion. Story 21. Someone said every rock is soft until something or someone touches it, as it is a defense mechanism to protect itself. Also, water is not wet. Whatever touches water and is then taken out of water becomes wet. Story 22. My dad literally thinks the Queen of England is a lizard alien that eats babies. He also thinks weed is an alien plant. I was able to change his mind about flat Earth theory. As a physics lover, I had to draw the line somewhere. Story 23. My Bill firmly believes Donald Trump is going to remove China's leaders and replace them with his own people. Story 24. Companies that make tissues add perfume to their products as it causes a very slight allergic response resulting in minor to mild production of sinus fluid. This causes the user to use more tissues, which exacerbates the condition and increases overall tissue consumption. As a result, tissue manufacturers sell more product. This was evaluated through multiple tests to find the right balance of perfumes, scents with and without smell, to cause the most effective sinus productive response. Each company has its own unique formulation of perfume and markets differently to various populations. Story 25. I used to never believe in conspiracy theories. That was definitely a happier time. Now I see them everywhere. Story 26. I also feel like we have potentially found the cure for cancer. However, someone somewhere stands to lose a lot of potential money if it is revealed. Story 27. Imaginary friends are people who have lived before. My daughter had one for years, and so did my mother. It never crossed my mind to ask my daughter more questions about the age of her friend. My mother said hers was a grandmother dressed in black. Neither my mother nor my daughter has any recollection of their friend, only what other people told them that the friend said. It is as if their memory of this time is gone. Story 28. The September 11th attacks were allowed to happen by the Bush and Cheney administration. They did not investigate anything until a year later after cleanup, and both those officials testified behind closed doors. Too much was and is ignored today. Donald Trump himself said he would investigate it, but we know how his promises hold up. Story 29. Smoking is harmful, but the additives and preservatives added by the tobacco company were the real cause of harm. The anti-smoking campaigns were run and funded by the tobacco companies to convince people that the additives were not harmful. The idea that soy affects your hormones is false. It was promoted by the beef industry to distract from the effects of mammal hormones used in beef production, which have reduced testosterone levels and penis size in men. These ideas may seem unusual, but I developed them independently. Story 30. Starbucks just exists to drive me crazy. This is a conspiracy theory that involves only me, but I'm convinced its sole purpose is to drive me to madness. For instance, this morning I went in for a simple order. Reload my application with $20 and order a cortado, which only comes in one size. First, the barista said she didn't know how to do that or what size. As I was having a serious coffee craving, I walked out and bought a cup of coffee from a sidewalk vendor. Story 31. The show Person of Interest is a great show and is based on real concepts. Do you think they went with The Machine, Samaritan, or something else? How many cities do they have teams in? Story 32. Veterans in the Democratic Party secretly ensured a Donald Trump victory because they knew they would be implicated by the release of Epstein's files. They also knew having Donald Trump in charge, who was also in the files, would provide a level of protection to ensure the truth was never revealed to the public. Story 33. Post-World War II, the arms industry realized how much money it stood to lose when the war ended. So they bought politicians and stirred up division and panic about communism to ensure that there would always be some conflict to profit from. Now here we are, so afraid of socialism, let alone communism, that the world's historically strongest proponent of democracy is now a fascist theocracy. Story 34. Israel orchestrated September 11th to increase American involvement in the Middle East and the Iraq War because they felt threatened by Saddam Hussein and wanted to destabilize the Middle East further for their own gain. Story 35. It is not really a conspiracy theory, but the moon is definitely cheese. The astronauts brought back a couple of 100 pounds of cheddar, and they are too afraid to tell us. Story 36. Those pollinator habitat areas with tall grass, wildflowers, and weeds are simply places where the owner got tired of paying to mow. So they put up a sign and now it is a feature. Story 37. People are increasingly reliant on subtitles in television shows and films, not due to poor sound mixing, but because of the rapid increase in consumption of TikTok videos, most of which have subtitles. Story 38. The transistor was invented just a few months after an unidentified flying object allegedly crashed in Roswell, New Mexico, and has since ushered in a whole new age of technology. Story 39. Yeast Planet Theory. Life was seeded onto our planet to create gases that heat and bake the planet, making it more suitable for a large alien to return and consume the Earth. Story 40. I would not call it an insane conspiracy theory, but I think Casey Anthony's mother was behind Kaylee Anthony's death. Story 41. The toilet paper shortage during coronavirus disease 2019 was a hoax to keep people busy and give them something to hoard. Story 42. The reason Ford cars are so unreliable is that they have contracts with almost every police department. They only last a few years so that officers can get new cars frequently. Look around, and you will see that almost all police cars are Fords. Story 43. I am not real, but the world is filled with other not real people trying to convince me that all of this is real when it is not. I will not be fooled again. Story 44. Predatory towing companies receive kickbacks and legal assistance from the government for every car they crush. It is cash for clunkers but with more theft. Story 45. Austin's heel turn in 2001 did not kill the wrestling boom. It was the release of Grand Theft Auto 3, followed by not making a sequel to World Wrestling Federation No Mercy. Story 46. Our health programs promote birth control methods that the World Health Organization has determined to be ineffective because humans are our main export and we need to ensure a continuous population. Story 47. Hamlet was never actually captured by pirates. The letter he wrote about his daring escape from them was just a ruse to make him more fearsome in the eyes of his stepfather. Story 48. Humanity is a collective consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. I feel we see individualistic traits within larger groups of humans who act collectively. Each dissenting voice is an internal conflict between individual neurons. We can look at smaller and smaller groups of people, and their individualism is more pronounced. However, often, no matter the group size, it can show traits of operating as a single system. Story 49. There are none. People are both self-interested at the expense of others, and they see patterns even when none exist. Story 50. All Bic lighters leak when not standing upright. The faster they run out, the sooner you have to buy more. Story 51. One thought that has crossed my mind a few times is that people say time moves faster as you get older, and that is actually the case. Time progressively moves faster, and you notice it throughout your life. Children born do not notice it because that is their normal, but as they age, they take note as well. I have no evidence for this other than lived experience. Story 52. Phone cards were created by the military and then distributed to drug traffickers. They would record their conversations and then take action. Story 53. We do not have a government. We are given only the illusion of one, so it feels like we have freedom and choice. Story 54. Reuben Kincaid was more than just the Partridge family's manager. He was also Danny Partridge's illegitimate father. Story 55. The Deep State. If it is so all-powerful, why did it let Donald Trump win the election? Why did it let the Republican Party get control of all three branches of government? And why, with the Republican Party controlling all three branches, have they not instituted an all-out assault on the deep state? They went all out on immigrants, so you know they can do it. No, the deep state does not exist. It is just a convenient excuse they always use when they cannot get things done. Story 56. I heard once that Michael Jackson's doctor was really Michael Jackson, but I am not sure where I heard it. It was years ago, and I have been looking for the conspiracy theory because it is both funny and interesting. Story 57. This is not in any way a real conspiracy or something I actually believe, But one day my dad and I were chatting and making fun of the more outlandish and ridiculous conspiracy theories about September 11th. We jokingly came up with a fake theory about Nostradamus, who some people credit with having predicted the attacks, appearing to Osama bin Laden in a dream and telling him future information, thus giving him the idea for the attacks. Once again, not a real theory. Story 58. Pizzagate is at least partially true. Yes, it became an absolute cartoonish disaster, but the origin, the leaked Podesta emails, and the elite's obsession with the occult are notable. I remember I had to search for Moloch after reading Hillary Clinton's emails, as she was casually name-dropping that entity. Story 59. That pit bull has a secret, cute little family, like a wife and young children. I have no idea why I feel this way, but I hope it is true. Story 60. The only one that matters. We are living in a simulation, potentially within another, and it just keeps going. Story 61. We are being marketed full-body deodorants and sprays for upcoming water shortages. Story 62. Food subscription services operate at a loss to prepare us for government or corporate control of all our grocery needs and decisions. Story 63. More of a cult based on the strange conspiratorial idea that food is harmful to you. Story 64. The term conspiracy theory has been weaponized to delegitimize and discredit real and evident conspiracies occurring right before our eyes. Story 65. Osama bin Laden made one promise to the people of Afghanistan: to rebuild the country. He knew that no one would sponsor it, so reflecting on what he learned while working for the Central Intelligence Agency, he realized that any country that loses a war receives help in rebuilding. For example, the Allies rebuilt Germany after World War II. This motivated him to stage the September 11th attacks. Story 66. The Epstein papers are real. In reality, it is likely made up to hide other evidence already in plain sight. Good chase. Story 67. Barack Obama served 2 terms as President of the United States. Afterward, Joe Biden was elected president. When that was no longer a viable option, Kamala Harris was expected to assume a leadership role. Story 68. I worked with a flat earther a while back. He had a theory that there was a superstructure built under Brighton that was owned by McDonald's. We all laughed except him. Story 69. Whenever mainstream media goes out of their way in a coordinated manner to make you believe something, it usually means the opposite is true. Story 70. The president is decided before the election even takes place. The process is paid for and controlled by the highest bidder. He is largely just a scapegoat used to divide and conquer the masses. Story 71. If the deep state actually existed, it would never have allowed Donald Trump to be elected or been so easily dismantled by a series of executive orders. Story 72. Trump did not legitimately win the 2024 election. They rigged it. Although I do not believe this is insane, I believe it to be the truth. Also, I am about 99% sure that the leaders of the churches, megachurch pastors, and others do not believe in God or the Bible in any way. They are evil people who see it as a tool to gain money and power. I am an atheist, so I do not believe there is morality among actual believers. What I mean is I think the entire concept of God is a grift, and they are in on it. Story 73. Bitcoin was created by an unknown individual or group, and is a decentralized digital currency. Story 74. The most unbelievable claims are true, and I cannot say them or even hint at them without being banned from Reddit. This makes you question who is running Reddit. There are 10 Reddit accounts that moderate the majority of popular subreddits. Story 75. Human farm. The elite purposefully breed and birth undocumented humans to use for organs and tissues, as well as sex slaves and a litany of other purposes. Atlantis was real, and the elite know this. The Christian era will end in 2160 to coincide with the precession of the vernal equinox. Story 76. The government created the September 11th conspiracy theory and spread it to make people fearful of the government. If a government would do that to its own citizens, what else would it do? Story 77. Not everyone is real. There is no way everyone is a real person. Some people are just non-player characters to fill in voids. Story 78. Catholics eat fish on Fridays, seemingly only Fridays for some reason, because Jesus' friends, the apostles, were fishermen. It is like an original sponsorship deal. Jesus said, "Hey fellas, if you travel around and tell people how great I am, I'll promote your industry in my speeches. The stories you tell about me don't even need to make sense. Tell them I walked on water for all I care." Story 79. Crop circles are not man-made. Some people can create a few, but never with the precision of the real ones. I believe they are linked to something in the atmosphere and Earth's core. Story 80. Donald Trump was reportedly shot in the ear last year, but has not been to Jeffrey Epstein's island. Story 81. Every religion throughout history and before is not true. No, it simply did not happen. Story 82. Jagmeet Singh of the New Democratic Party of Canada is a Khalistan supporter pretending to be a regular Sikh. These people are known as terrorists in India and recognized as such by the International Criminal Police Organization. Jagmeet made a deal with Justin Trudeau to give these people sanctuary in Canada and hide them from India. This is the only explanation I see as to why he did not criticize Justin Trudeau when he was weak, despite not gaining much from the deal for his party. He always became very cautious whenever that group was mentioned to him. He would not react the same way when other groups were discussed, but always responded strangely when they were brought up. Lastly, we are now seeing the Royal Canadian Mounted Police discuss them. It is notable that this only started happening after Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh were both removed from their respective leadership positions. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.